Hello everyone, Albert here again with another tutorial today on responsive design. So I'll go through briefly just about 7 slides just to give us an understanding of what the responsive design is all about with CSS. So in responsive design we talk about desktop first and mobile first. So when we talk about desktop first, we mean that we start writing CSS for the desktop size or larger screens. As we have learned in our previous tutorial, CSS is used to style a web page or to style the content on our website. That is, organizing the content, the layout, the font size, the colors. Okay. So when we talk about responsive design, we also use CSS to achieve that. And when we say responsive design, it simply means that the content, the layout of the content, or even the font size of the content should respond to the size of the device on which the website is being viewed. For instance, you may have a font size of 10 pixels for a heading in a smaller screen size, whereas in a larger screen size you may use 25 pixels. Okay, so the way to change that is known as, or the idea of changing that size or that font size is known as responsive design. And by the end of this tutorial we'll see how to do that. It's very simple, guys. Okay, so this is desktop first. We start writing CSS for desktop or larger screen sizes. And next we have mobile first, wherein we start writing CSS for mobile devices or small screen size devices. Okay, now amongst the two, desktop first is the traditional way to design web application or websites because it's the more easier way, at least in my opinion. Now, to achieve responsive design, we use what is normally called media queries. Media queries used to conditionally apply styles with the CSS. So using CSS, we apply CSS styles. Using media queries, we apply CSS styles conditionally. And media queries shrink design to smaller screen size, and also media queries expand design to a larger screen size. Now we have two strategies, of course, as we discussed in the beginning. We have the mobile first, desktop first. So if we are doing a desktop first, that means we design for desktop first, and to be able to view that desktop first design in a mobile version or in a mobile device or a smaller device, you need to use the max width strategy. Okay, and the min width strategy for mobile first design. But today since we are going to focus on desktop first design, then you will see me using max width. Okay, by the way, there's a mistake here. Design should be spelled DESIGN. Yes, media queries for desktop first. So the code snippet below, of course, checks if the current viewport is 600. Now, if it is, then whatever CS is written inside this block, okay, will be applied. So this is conditional CSS. Okay, you are applying CSS conditionally. Now we are using max width because we are simply saying that is the maximum width at which any media query or any CSS inside the media query still applies. Okay, for instance, if we are changing the color of a particular text, we are saying by writing max width 600 pixels, we are saying that only apply that color if the width of the device screen that is viewing the site is 600 or smaller. Okay, and of course, to be able to write a media query, as you saw here, you need a size in pixels. Okay, so how do we get this size? You need to select what is known as a breakpoint, and in selecting that breakpoint, the good way to think about is not to think about devices, because as you know, there are too many devices these days. So just don't think about devices. The best way is to choose a breakpoint where the design breaks by changing the viewport of the size. Sorry, by changing the viewport size. Viewports here should be VIEW. Okay. Thank you guys. So this ends the slides of the theoretical aspects of this tutorial. We'll now go straight away into writing code. So as you already know, go ahead and open your VS Code. Yeah, my VS Code is already open right here, and I'll be using this same project that we worked on the last time. In fact, if you can remember, at the end of that video, I said we were going to make this web page or portfolio page responsive. And you can see today there is a difference. As you can see, as the screen size or the viewport reduces, you see that the picture has reduced in size. And observe again what would happen. Observe what would happen. See, this text has gone down. Okay, and if you observe again what would happen, see the name, what will happen to my name there? It will get small soon. See, so this is what responsive design is all about. Okay, making the contents, the design of the content on the web page respond to the size of the viewport. Now this is what we are going to achieve. This is the original web page here as we left it last week. Okay, so we are going to work on this to make it to achieve that results there that you just saw. So we are going to start right away writing code. So it's going to be very easy and brief today, because you should already have this code, that is the CSS, initial CSS, and the HTML. By the way, we achieved this in 2 tutorials. There is a part 1 and a part 2. And if you have not followed those tutorials, but you just want to learn the responsive design aspect, I'll leave a link on the description to this code that will give you this result without the responsive aspect. Okay, so let's go right ahead and start writing our media queries. So okay, so there's already definition here, but the first thing we want to do, I will remove these breakpoints. First thing I want us to do is to go and test at which breakpoint does this site break, or does the content begin to look squeezed, or does it look when it does not look clear, or when it does not look good on the page. That is where you'd want to mark as your breakpoint to change the CSS. Okay, so when the content starts to look out of order or squeezed, so what you do to be able to get breakpoint size, you just open your developer tools, and I want to show you how to open the developer tools. I think I've not shown this. So you just go here, go to right click, and then inspect. This will open the developer tools, and once the developer tool is opened, by moving this, you see at the top right corner, you see a dimension, which is the width by the height. And you can see as you are reducing, the number is changing. So the first number there is what you want to take as your breakpoint, because that is actually the width. Okay, we are using the width in this case as our breakpoint. So according to my design that I want to put on the web page, my breakpoint that I would want, the first breakpoint that I want to target, that is where I want to change the font size of this text and maybe change the size of this image. I would like to choose 1240 pixels, around there. Okay, so 1240 pixels. So, and right there you can see that I want to change the font size of this text, change the size of this image. So if you go to your HTML, you can see the classes that's targeting that content. You can see that we have a UL and a paragraph, and outside in the container hosting, these elements has a class called write. So by using this class, we can target both the paragraph and the UL. So, and we already have it here actually. We have it here already targeted. So I'll just copy that CSS and paste it inside the block of the media query. So this time what we want to do is to reduce the font size to maybe something like 1.5. And let's see how that will look like. Does that work? Okay, right, PUR, let me refresh. Yeah, it works. You can see when it's above that breakpoint, the font size increase. As it passes that breakpoint, font size has decreased. So, and the next thing we want to do is to reduce the size of this image. And there's a class targeting the container holding that image, which is left. So we want to target this image. And in our earlier CSS, we had already. Did we target it? No. But even though it doesn't matter, even if you have never used that, targeted that element, you can always write it in your media queries. So that's left image. And what we want to do is to define the max width for that image, max width of 50 rems. You see, now the size is reduced. As we go above that breakpoint, that CSS will not apply. As we go below or from that breakpoint and below, the width applies. So this, guys, is really amazing and it's powerful. Okay, so the next thing here we want to do is to look for another breakpoint. We want to look for another breakpoint. We want to look for another breakpoint wherein we can change some more styles. Okay, so for instance, we want to bring this content down below the image, and if you can see, maybe we can take 860 pixels. That is, at that point we want to bring this content down below the image, so we can target. You can always work or choose your breakpoint according to your own design, whatever you want, you feel like it's good for you. So 860 pixels. and inside there what we want to do is to change. This is a container. The left and right is inside the container, and that container has a class called container. Okay, this is a div that contains these two containers, left and right. So to bring this content here below the image, what we need to do is to target that container, and of course using Flexbox. Okay, that container has already a display of flex, which means it's displayed as Flexbox. Okay, so in Flexbox we can change the flex, a property there called flex direction. Initially it's displaying as a row. Okay, so but if we want this content to be below the image, we need to change the flex direction property to a column. So let's just write it and see. Yeah, so let's go below 860. You can see image, the text has gone below the image, and now of course we need to bring this image at the center and do some changes. So to bring that image at the center, left, image, of course we can display the image as flex. And since in this track actually you are learning both responsive design and Flexbox. Flexbox is a very powerful addition to CSS that helps you to lay out your content on a web page. So justify content is used to organize your content or an element across the x-axis of your web page. So let's see what has happened. Yeah, so the image is now displaying flex, and it justified center. Okay, justify the center. Doesn't seem to be, the image doesn't seem to be at the center though. Okay, let's go target. This is the left. Okay, let's target the left. Let's target the left instead of the image. Let's target the container. Target the container. Okay, now you see the container, that left container contains the image and the name. So by default, whenever you display container as flex, the flex direction property is default to row. So that's why the image and the name is now in a row. Or we do not want the name and the image to be in a row. So to change that, we use the flex direction property and change it to column. And if you see, it's now again in a column. But this time we want to center the image. Whenever you change the flex direction property to column, you use the align items to center that element. Initially we use the justify content to center that, but that is when flex direction property is set to row. Okay, but when flex direction property changes to column, then you use align items to center your elements. Okay, that is just how it works. It's Flexbox. You can always go and learn more on MDN. Just write Flexbox, then MDN. It's a great resource to learn Flexbox. Okay, so far it's looking pretty better, but we can change You can choose another breakpoint, maybe to reduce the font size of this name, okay, and even this text and the image and the icons. So let's see what breakpoints we can select. Maybe around 475. Yeah, let's say 475 pixels. It's media max width 475 pixels. So the first thing we want to change is the image size. Earlier we defined it to be 50. We want to further reduce it to 40. So just copy that property from there, or you can write it 40. The next thing we want to do is to reduce the size of this H1 is an H1. If you go back to your HTML, you can see it's an H1 inside the left container. So select to target that element H1 and change the font size maybe to 2 rems. Okay. See? It has reduced. Above that, it goes to the normal size. Last thing we want to change, as we said, is this text that says get in church. So that is a span inside the footer. So we can target span inside the footer, change the font size to 2 rems, and the same thing for the icons. It's an anchor tag inside the footer, can change the font size to 2 rems. So yeah, this is looking much better, and it's looking good actually. So we have been able to make this web page responsive, that is to change the alignment, the sizes of the content to fit the viewport of the device. As you can see, it's changing according to the size. This is so amazing, and for me this looks really powerful to be able to achieve this result just with CSS. There are many amazing things which you can do with CSS. This is just one of them. So we might do more. Of course, we'll do more along, maybe with other tutorial, even if it's not a CSS specific tutorial. But we'll do more videos where you will learn more CSS. Okay, but thank you for watching this tutorial, and I hope you've learned something. Kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel, like, comment, and let me know what you think. If you have any content in mind you want me to prepare next, just put it in the comment section, and then I'll read your comments and give you your feedback. Share my YouTube channel to your friends. Thank you very much.